Welcome to the Idaho Sheriff live stream broadcast with Dan Wilson for Kootenai County Sheriff, where we discuss all things liberty without compromise. This is the only flim-flam-free broadcast in Kootenai County. I'm your co-host and producer, Donna Wilson, here to screen your questions and comments. We invite all sorts of questions, anything that you have. You'll only be in a temporary timeout, if you're just being inappropriate. Anyone with a question, you can put that right into the comments section of whichever platform you're watching. As always, for the most interactive and full screen experience, join us on Facebook or YouTube. You get that full horizontal experience. For Instagram viewers, we will still include you. Do our best. Take a moment to share this live broadcast right now. Share it to your profile so that your friends can join on in with us. If you're listening back to the Idaho Sheriff podcast, thank you for joining us. And remember, listen and subscribe to our podcast wherever you get your shows. Dan Wilson is the only sheriff candidate recommended as the constitutional sheriff for Kootenai County by Sheriff Richard Mack, also endorsed by retired Brigadier General Blaine Holt and former heavyweight boxing champ David Nino Rodriguez. Here's Dan Wilson.
Hey, folks. So glad you joined us. We are going to be discussing all things liberty without compromise. Thank you very much, Donna, for that wonderful introduction. Hey, I see you have a new sweatshirt on.
I do. A reminder that on the website you can get the Liberty Without Compromise apparel. So I chose this kind of army green hoodie.
Yeah, it should be sheriff green.
Yeah.
Should be sheriff green.
Well, it can be. KCSO green.
Yeah.
Almost.
Well, we have a lot to talk about as we do each and every week. For those of you who are listening via podcast, we appreciate all of those listeners, those that aren't able to join us right now, that are going to join us later on. Keep dropping your comments. We do occasionally go back and read those comments, and we respond when we find out that somebody dropped a comment.
Yeah.
YouTube, I don't think we do as much.
No, it's all connected.
Yeah,
so
all
you can
connected.
comment on YouTube, Facebook, and then I toggle to Instagram. It's not quite as streamlined, but we get to you. We actually even had, I don't know that this is a happy comment, but Jason, or it's a question. Jason from Instagram wants to know, if he sends you a letter, will you actually read it?
A letter? Well, depends.
I
If
don't
it's
know
a
the
Dear
tone.
John letter.
What's your tone, Jason?
Yeah,
I can't translate the tone.
Of course I will read your letter. I read a lot of letters this week.
Does that mean he already sent a letter and he's kind of mad that he hasn't heard from you yet? Or is it just a genuine, if I send you a letter,
I've heard this quite a bit.
that tipped me off. Will you actually read it? Yeah.
I'll read your letter if I receive it.
Okay. All right. So what we have events coming up. What did you want to tease people with?
Well, hey, the events that we have coming up for those in Kootenai County, we have about, by math, if it's correct, I was a homeschool kid, about 41 days left before the November 5 election. And a reminder, everybody in the general election, no matter what your party affiliation or lack thereof, can definitely vote for Dan Wilson for Kootenai County Sheriff. So don't let a party affiliation dissuade you. I am the true sheriff candidate for all of the people, both right and left, conservative, non-conservative. If you love liberty without compromise, life, liberty, property, and want equal protection under the law, I won't go into the library and pull a book out and arbitrarily decide whether or not you can read it. And I definitely won't come to your house and pull a book out and do the same thing. Equal protection under the law. Hey, our events tomorrow night, the 26th, over at the Racketeer.
That's going to be a good one. Not everybody's into cigars.
I know.
But.
Well, even if you like whiskey, you're welcome to come and join us for cigars and whiskey tomorrow, the 26th, at the Racketeer in Post Falls. On Friday, the 27th, this is going to be a real fun event. Life coffee.
Are you going to do karaoke? The one on Friday?
Possibly.
See, you need to show up just for that one. And
so we have that event where I'm going to be a special guest, and we're looking forward to seeing everyone down there. We know it's going to be just a lot of fun. I'm going to be on Nino's Corner, Nino Rodriguez, next Monday. I think the first.
Coming up, yeah.
We're going to be at the Safe Harbor 5K event in Coeur d'Alene, and this last one is going to be probably the crescendo of this campaign. You know what crescendo means?
I do.
Okay.
I took music class.
All right. Well, what's it mean
There's
for the
crescendo
listeners?
and there's decrescendo.
Well, what's
this is
crescendo?
the crescendo. This is the getting louder, the progressively getting louder, coming to a large.
Well, do you want to explain what we're doing on the 7th?
On the 7th, we promised that in lieu of a legitimate debate with Bob Norris, that we would hold a town hall and all Kootenai and everyone in Kootenai County invited rally. And Dan will be talking more about his plans, policies. We will have special guests.
Yeah.
We welcome difficult questions. We welcome live streaming or recording of the event.
Yeah, we won't turn
anybody,
people
no matter if you feel you've chosen sides, your beliefs, your worldview, all of Kootenai County is welcome to this rally.
Do we tell them the location, or are we waiting to send that flyer out?
No, it'll be at North Idaho College on the campus there. But yeah, I'll be touring the facility to get the final plans on the event. But that's location, so the room will be comfortable. There will be plenty of parking, easy to get in and out of, all that good stuff.
Bob cowered out. His response has been, behind the scenes. Well, he has 80% of the vote locked in, so therefore he didn't have to debate. Now, let me ask those of you who hear a statement like that, what do you make of that? How does that make you feel? The man who wants to represent you for another 4 years apparently believes that he's gotten the bag and he doesn't owe you, the people, the constituents, a one-on-one debate with his number one opponent. So I think that's chicken crap, but that's just me.
Well, for somebody who needs to sound sure of themselves, that it seems
it's probably because
like
he can't have
comment.
Bruce Matari whisper in his ear.
Oh, probably. He could get an earpiece, though.
Just like Kamala.
He could wear an earring. Jason on Instagram wants to say that it was definitely a positive comment, he promises. So, Jason, it sounds like you need to head over to the website, click the apparel button, and get yourself a Liberty Without Compromise hat or hoodie. Yeah. Got to make it through the storms of the winter. He said he was homeschooled, too, so he feels you. Probably on your slow math there, right?
Well, I want to talk real fast about the absurd rumors that have been floating around the past couple of weeks in the Kootenai County Sheriff's Office. I put out a video I think it was yesterday, within the past couple of days, dispelling these different myths, these rumors, most likely perpetrated by the current administration. It sounds kind of like something they would do. But for all deputies at Kootenai County Sheriff's Office and citizens, I am not going to discontinue the K-9 unit. I'm not going to discontinue the traffic unit, although traffic unit probably needs to have a little bit more manpower. I know Bob doesn't like traffic units, but the way some aggressive driving has been taking place recently that I've observed, we probably need an education, a special education emphasis. So the only unit that I'm going to dissolve as it now sits will be the Regional Air Support Unit. That will be dead on arrival the day that I'm sworn in, and we will go back and work with Spokane County to enter into that memo of understanding for $10,000 a year. That's all it cost us back in the day. Not $110,000, not $150,000. But,
while you're talking about this, I'm going to screen share because we're not going to go into the details with the helicopter,
right.
But you can come to the website in the search bar here, type in the keyword helicopter, click search, and what you're going to get back is information on why Dan will be discontinuing this program.
That's not even up to date. I mean, we have so much more that we have uncovered. We really should be updating it, but you get the gist. So anyway, Kootenai County deputies, rest assured that we are not going to be getting rid of most of the beloved programs, but the helicopter program, sorry for the TAC officers that really enjoy their helicopter rides. You're going to have to put a quarter in and drop it in the merry-go-round, and that'll be how you get your rides from here on out. So,
Kyle on Facebook has a question. It's two parts. One, for laterals, will there be a hiring incentive? And then two, will laterals be hired on a base pay, or will there be a pay scale to go off of? And I'm wondering how much of that, some of that's already set into place. And
we'll have to go back and look at policies on that. Right now, I understand that what has happened is there was a promise of a bonus for all the deputies. And the argument was the first half of the year, they were going to give the new laterals and some of the new recruits the increase, the bonus, if you will. And then after that, 6 months later, all of the tenured deputies, those that have been there the longest, were going to get their bonus. And as I understand it, because deputies have come up and told me how disgruntled they are, sounds like that the tenured deputies did not receive their bonus as promised. And there's a lot of very angry deputies and their families, I might add. But anyway, Kyle, going back to that, we're going to have to look, personally, I'm going to have to look at everything that is currently set in policy. I believe that we will be offering incentives, obviously, for the climate that we currently have. But as far as where we're going to enter in at pay scale, that's to be determined. I need to go over that with Board of County Commissioners and make certain that all the I's are dotted, T's are crossed before I commit to anything.
I never say that phrase, I's dotted, T's crossed, because I get it backwards.
I know, T's dotted, I's crossed.
It's just not worth it. If you do have questions or comments, even as we move into this next segment, we invite you to put those into the comment section on whichever platform you're watching, Facebook, YouTube, or Instagram, and we will get to those because I know Dan wants to be able to answer them.
There is something else I want to follow up on that question from Kyle. My transition team and I are working tirelessly to come up with ways to recruit better. And one of the things that we are going to be implementing is a much faster background investigation timeline. Instead of the 6 months that it's now taking, we're going to shrink that down by at least half. And our team already has all the details on how we're going to accomplish that. It's very doable. Right now, the backgrounds are taking way too long. They're washing way too many people out over things that should not wash cops out of programs. And lastly, when I'm there, we're not going to tolerate captains that when it gets to their level, after all the other work has been done, and a captain can just say, I don't like a guy and we're going to toss him, that's not going to be tolerated either. So especially in a staffing crisis, I got the numbers just the other day. We're still down a lot of deputies inside the organization and a heck of a lot of support staff. So anyway, we're going to be working very, very hard to reduce drastically the amount of time it takes for backgrounds so that we can get deputies in place sooner. Bob
Norris dropped a couple of things out on the internets and the social channels today. It might have been a little bit foul. One of them was a soundbite from his kickoff event for his announcement of candidacy for the general election. So he had a second kickoff event here a couple of weeks ago. So interesting.
Was the first one a false start?
Probably.
Okay.
That was his just kidding. It was his rededication. So the second thing that came out from the Bob Norris campaign today, I'd actually just, let's see. Oh, it was a press release stating that the UN Pact for the Future, it's a document, Norris stated it'd have no impact on Kootenai County. So we're gonna talk more about that. We want to take you on a brief journey that goes back to December 2023.
That was a long time ago.
It was. We want you to understand the magnitude of what Bob Norris is talking about today when these things that there are things, important things that he's not acknowledged and not upheld over this last 4 years that he's been in office.
Yeah.
So we want you to go on that journey with us, and we're going to put these puzzle pieces together for you. So I can't wait.
I haven't seen most of these.
So it's we'll start with this.
What we are asking our legislators for is to consider stronger statutes on crimes that are likely to be committed by individuals who come here illegally. I am talking about counterfeit birth certificates. I'm talking about counterfeit social security numbers. I'm talking about counterfeit driver's licenses. We need to strengthen our borders, and we need to make Idaho a very uncomfortable place for people who have come here illegally. I want to retain that authority to give driver's licenses because I will never, ever issue a driver's license to anybody who has come here illegally. We don't need to incentivize people who have come here illegally. Sheriff Bob Norris will not issue a driver's license and I will continue to contact our legislators to make Idaho laws stronger so illegal aliens go somewhere else. I am the toughest sheriff in the state of Idaho on illegal immigration, period.
Well, I mean,
Bruce is quite the speechwriter.
I mean,
Special Deputy
yes,
DC Bruce Mattard.
we know he did. Do you
Toughest
think
in Idaho, huh?
Well, yeah. I mean, what's your reaction to that last statement?
I would say that that's not even close. I mean, Bob, you have done nothing for the past 4 years. In fact, recently, within a year, you were claiming that there was no real issue and people were being, well, I guess we'll probably talk about this a little more.
Yeah.
But racist. And, you know, on a couple notes, dealing with illegal immigration, you're just playing with the frosting, man. You're not dealing with the substance, the cake, which is, look, driver's licenses, who cares? We're concerned about those that are coming right now into the county, into the region. Couldn't care less right now about them trying to get driver's licenses. Now, it is bad if they get driver's licenses because, of course, they could probably eventually finagle their way into voting. But really, Bob, your whole plan is to talk to the legislature about making it harder on birth certificates and driver's license. How about when they come here first? How about you work with the 287, the ICE 287G program, you know, where you guys can help immediately get them out of the county? But I know it's not as sexy as saying you, have lobbied the legislature for the tools that you need.
Why does that sound so impressive? But when you really think about it, I mean, you're going before them, and then it's not an outcome you really have control over. But it makes a nice soundbite because it shows where you stand, or at least that you tried. Now, he made some statements in here that to strengthen our borders and make Idaho a very uncomfortable place for people who have come here illegally. Mm-hmm. With him making that statement, does that sound a little bit familiar to you?
Yeah, I've been saying that from the get-go when I have talked about my plan from the very beginning, which is to go after the NGOs that are attempting to subvert Idaho law. We can't arrest them just because they're here illegally. That is a federal issue. The state has not done anything to make it easier for law enforcement to take actions because, you know, the federal government's in violation of Article 4, Section 4 of the Constitution. So what does a county sheriff do? Well, a county sheriff always acts before he reacts because action beats reaction. And I've been saying from the beginning, we want to go after those NGOs and with our task force. And when we find them violating our laws, we arrest them, we seize their vehicles, we sue them.
And we're going
to make life so difficult that they don't want to even come anywhere near Kootenai County. And everybody knows that Dan Wilson has been saying this now for almost a year.
And we're gonna actually show that because there's some very good statements made. He's now at the end of his 4-year term. Why is he just now saying that he's gonna ask legislators to consider doing this? He's at the end.
Well, I mean, in all fairness, earlier this year when the legislature was in session, you know, 4 years into his term, you know, he started testifying at their hearings about what he needs as a sheriff. And it's the same thing again. I want to have more tools to, you know, not give them driver's licenses and other nonsensical things. How about this? Give us the tools that we need to gather these folks up and get them out. And here's another one for the state legislatures. How about we quit giving money, welfare money, to women and children that are here illegally? I mean, my family matters first, and they've come here illegally. The federal government has caused this mess. Make the feds pick that bill up. And I think that it's ridiculous that the Idaho State Legislature has not fixed this problem. In fact, they voted to extend those benefits to women and children.
Now we're going to go back in time. That first video with Bob Norris was released today, a statement he made just a week or two ago at his re-election kickoff event. We're going to go back in time to September 21st, 2023, when Bob Norris downplays illegal immigration here in Kootenai County at one of his town halls back in that time.
All right, I had an assessment, and this has to do with one of the one of the most frequently asked questions that I get anywhere and everywhere I go.
Weird.
And it has to do with white buses, it has to do with illegal immigration, it has to do with people here illegally. And I've done a little bit of homework, and I want to tell you what I have learned. That I feel confident with our SAC, which is a special agent in charge of our local ICE and Border Patrol agent. I called him when I heard that there was information, we had intelligence, we had information that they were busing illegal immigrants from the southern border in North Idaho. He called me back later that afternoon, and he said, we have no contracts whatsoever with any busing company that's taking immigrants from the southern border to Idaho. Now, he did say that if that is happening, it's likely an NGO, non-government organizations, that's likely doing that.
Okay. So here we have Bob a year and just a couple days, where he says, here's a couple key things. The sheriff of the county, the chief law enforcement officer of the county, I did some homework because he doesn't know this stuff like right off the top of his head. So he did some homework, and what does he do? He calls his federal buddies. I've been telling you for months and months and months that he relies heavily on his federal relationships because he can't separate himself from them. And he calls them, these acronyms in public, the SAC, Special Agents in Charge. And they told him they don't have any contracts. That's interesting. No contracts. Does the Border Patrol, does the Department of Homeland Security have contracts with NGOs to bus people up? That was interesting. Mm-hmm. But he says Border Patrol doesn't know of anybody that's, from the government that's contracting, bringing people up in buses.
And is that a workaround answer?
Sure,
that there's no,
but he says,
contract?
But it could be the NGOs, the non-governmental organizations. And what has Dan Wilson been saying from day one? It's the NGOs that are facilitating this. The federal government has given these non-governmental organizations over $1.5 billion to aid and abet all of these invaders that have come across our borders. In fact, when they arrive at Sky Harbor Airport, for example, in Arizona, and they put them on planes, they give them a plastic bag with a debit card between $5,000 to $15,000, a cell phone, instructions on what to do when they arrive at their destination. We're not even talking about the polystabs, those military-age males that are all over the continental United States and definitely right here.
Now, you've been talking about this since the onset of your campaign. So we're going to continue forward to show some of that journey and all of this, and the heat that you've taken for bringing up this issue of illegal immigration, that it is an issue. And Norris has done nothing to prepare for it. In fact, that was one of the things that compelled you to run. So we're going to hit this and then see.
Stop human trafficking. You want to stop fentanyl. It's a border issue. Now, we cannot, as the sheriff has said, we cannot arrest somebody just because they are illegally here. But there are things that we can do to make this county so hardened that these NGOs and others are helping facilitate the movement of these immigrants through, or invaders through our county, don't want to be here.
Sounds familiar.
And I think that we need to be creative on how we come up with our solutions on how to deter this activity in our counties. But it takes leadership. It takes somebody that says, yes, there are important functions with the sheriff's office, which includes the typical patrol, all the functions that you need when you call 911. Yes, we have to be solid in how we take care of our community, but also the job of the sheriff is to look down the road to see what's coming and to prepare his county accordingly. That is why I decided to run for sheriff, is because I didn't see vision. I saw a lot of complaining, blaming, finger pointing, always wanting to raise taxes. I decided that I could not any longer sit by and watch things being run into the ground the way I believe that they're being run. So therefore I entered into the race.
Before you comment on that, I want to highlight the next video really quickly because you were getting lambasted for that right out of the gate, even though you knew it was an important issue at that time or back in December 2023. Bob Norris is talking about it now. These are sound bites he's releasing now. This is what he was doing after you made that presentation at that event we just watched.
Pay to play Bob Norris thought he had a gotcha moment at a recent event that he attended where he was speaking, and he was going to quote me, the Idaho Sheriff, Dan Wilson, with what he said, I allegedly said a week prior. You take a listen, tell me what you think.
Right here, in this room, I am going to quote what another candidate said at 24 minutes into his presentation. There are things that we can do to make this county so hardened that NGOs and others will help to facilitate the movement of these immigrants through our county who don't want to be here. We need to be creative in how we detour this activity in our community. Ladies and gentlemen, if you target somebody because they are an immigrant, or target any vehicle that's being used because you think there's an immigrant in there, this county can't afford the civil rights lawsuits and the civil rights violations that are going to come with an inexperienced candidate.
And now,
So, yeah, that's him challenging you on your inexperience. But rather than have a plan and up to that point in his term have done anything to prepare for illegal immigration, he's lambasting you for the ideas that you do have.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's been a common theme with Bob Norris all the way from when I announced in December. He's copied me almost verbatim on the volunteer posse, except he calls it an all volunteer instead of the citizens posse. Rather, he calls it his all volunteer, vetted, whatever. And he uses terms like, electricians and carpenters and firemen. So
that's funny.
That's Bruce, because Bruce is too lazy to do his own homework and come up with his own talking points. And Bob is just merely plagiarizing what I'm saying. But more importantly, he's never had a plan. In 4 years, he's had no plan. He should have been a part of ICE 287G. 4 years. He hasn't been a part of it. Had no clue. I have the emails where Bob is requesting information through Brett Nelson, the undersheriff, and Captain Heil. What is the 287G program? After committing to Theo Wold on a live event, that he would definitely become part of it. So
absolutely, 100%.
Yeah. How do you know Bob's lying?
Absolutely, 100%.
That's exactly right. Absolutely.
All right, one more video, and then we're going to talk more about that.
to do something, to sit back and do nothing is insane. I mean, what do you guys think of when the border chief comes up and says, yeah, we'll go and grab them and process them, and then we'll kick them right back, and we're going to take care of them with their food and clothing and diapers? I mean, how does that make you feel?
So you said you believe in the rule of law. Do you think Sheriff Norris isn't following the rule of law?
Her question was, is Sheriff Norris following the rule of law?
But if he's following the rule of law, is that his problem or is that the lawmaker's problem?
So let's put it this way. People commit crimes all the time. You can prosecute and charge people with certain things because you want to actually go out and find what they're doing. Like, it's easy to find people speeding. It's easier to find people that are shoplifting, but that doesn't mean that the other crimes don't exist and that you aren't going after those. And that's what I would say it is. He's not actually looking for the solutions in order to take care of the problem. He's looking at all the simple, low-hanging fruit things, and then he's punting to his DHS buddies to bail him out of inaction.
Yeah. Not much else to say on that one.
Yeah, I mean, we just wanted to take you on that journey since he's releasing a powerful soundbite from a statement he made a week or two ago with a music bed to get you feeling emotional about how he is the most what was the statement he made in the beginning?
He's the
that
toughest
tag of that
sheriff
the
in
toughest.
all of Idaho on illegal immigration.
So what else has Bob done during his term? Now that, like I was mentioning, now that he's toward the end, and he's running on his record. Yeah. So what else has he done? And we're gonna highlight a little bit more of what Bob Norris and his administration has done in this last 4 years.
And it rests solely at the feet of Special Deputy Bruce Matari and Sheriff Robert Norris, who blames and complains and never takes extreme ownership of his actions or his deputies. And he double-crossed the KCRCC, and they lost 30 seats because of this. But yet, there are people still within Kootenai County that think Bob's a nice guy. He comes to all of our events. In fact, he takes county resources and he donates them for Republican auctions.
True.
County resources for auctions that support Republicans, who then turn around and send money and spend it on Bob Norris and other candidates. Let me ask you this question. Would Bob Norris do the same thing for Democrats?
Get ready to be
or
offended.
for the Church of Satan that's in Coeur d'Alene? Oh my God. Would he do that? Why would he not do it? It doesn't benefit him. But you guys have to start paying attention and demanding that your leaders stop this crap. This is what this guy has brought to the sheriff's office, and we haven't even talked about the money that he's getting from out of state by big business. 10% of Bob Norris's funds right now come from big developers and real estate folks and the cannabis industry out of Las Vegas and Southern California. Did you know that? I've been saying that he's a deep stater.
This is just
So Norris he's made some bold statements, released some bold statements today that are going to appeal, or the hope for him is that it appeals to voters so that he is reelected. But you've seen that there's been a whole lot going on in the last 4 years in his administration that tells an entirely different story.
Yeah, and I frequently speak on the fact that the neo-Marxists, the globalists, attempted to do away with the Bill of Rights during COVID. It was a test run. And if they were able to successfully topple the Bill of Rights, which they came really close, if they weren't successful, they were going to do it again. And we have been following this global conspiracy to take the sovereignty away from we, the American people, since the beginning. And I don't love globalists. In fact, I hate globalists. I hate anybody that wants to undermine the United States of America, the Constitution, and the Bill of Rights. I really couldn't care less what your belief is, whether or not you think America is worthy or not of your allegiance. If you don't like it, leave. Otherwise, the rest of us will live by the Bill of Rights. And you can be a flaming liberal. If you love the Bill of Rights, I am your guy. Even if you don't believe in the Bill of Rights, I'm still going to take care of you and make certain to give you equal protection under the law and ensure that you have due process. But you have to understand that this bandwagon that Bob's now jumping on because of this UN new pact that was recently signed on to, and there's a lot to unpack there that we'll go over probably at a different episode. But Bob has not said one thing about any global neo-Marxist in the past 4 years.
So let's jump into this. I'm going to share the press release that came or that was published by Bob Norris today. He says, I'm aware that the United Nations Pact for the Future was recently passed. I want to assure Kootenai County residents that under my leadership, the United States Constitution will be the only document upheld. The United Nations document will have no impact on Kootenai County. Sheriff Robert Bob Norris' public policy has always been and will continue to be guided solely by the United States Constitution.
Sure.
So my question is, well, this might be a tough one. We might bounce around a little bit. Do you think that Norris has already allowed or at least given into the globalist agenda in Kootenai County? Yeah. That might be for a further
I do, and I think
episode.
one of the simplest ways, and we're actually going to have a special guest here. We're going to do a special broadcast in a couple of days on this subject. But briefly, Bob, check yourself. How much money have you received in federal grants that are tied directly to UN initiatives? I'm not going to spoil and tell everybody where the sources are coming from. But you need to ask Bob Norris, and you need to hold him accountable. How much money in the Kootenai County Sheriff's Office has come from United Nations directives or initiatives? And that's something we're going to talk about here in upcoming episode.
If you've just joined us or you need the reminder, if Dan's going to be getting to some questions, and you can put those into the comment section on whichever platform you're watching. Thanks for joining us tonight. And we've got a good half hour left, so make sure to hit that share button so that your friends can join in with us. Do you think that Norris can uphold a document or the Constitution? Is there proof that he fully understands the Constitution and he has the ability to uphold that? Has he given proof of that over the last 4 years? I know he says he's a 2A, constitutional sheriff because...
To uphold the Constitution, you better know it inside and out. And you better understand the Bill of Rights. And you better understand the intent, the writings of those that were pro-Constitution and those that were anti-Constitution. You know, those things called the Federalist Papers and the Anti-Federalist Papers. When you start to read the arguments back and forth on each side. Now, we live under a constitutional republic. That is the form of government that was agreed upon at the consent of those that, agreed to this. But you probably want to hear in their own words, Hamilton. You want to hear Madison. You want to hear John Jay and Washington and Jefferson, to name just a few, as to what their thoughts were and why the importance specifically for the form of government that they were giving to us. And the importance of the Bill of Rights and why it was amended into the Constitution and how it almost derailed the Constitution. When you start to understand these arguments inside and out, then you have the upper hand when it comes to articulating the great history of this country and the importance of standing for the Constitution. Bob has an elementary knowledge of the Constitution. And I say this because in the past 4 years, I've never once heard Bob one time ever mention a direct quote by any of the founders. Now, he'll go back and he'll read, one of the easy ones, right? The ones like give me liberty or give me death, for example, but nothing profound. He can't articulate what the founders had to say. So when he says that, he's a constitutional sheriff because, he's for the Second Amendment, well, Bob, you fail. Because if you single out that you are just 2A supportive, well, what about the First Amendment? The First Amendment is of the utmost importance because it gives us the right to what? Free speech, free religion, press, peacefully assemble, petition our government. Man, the Second Amendment's around to make certain that the First is uncompromised. But what about the Fourth Amendment? The right to be secure in your person, places, and effects. And the right to not to incriminate yourself. The right to face your accusers and for a speedy trial and not to have excessive bail or punishment.
And the point here being, you cannot protect citizens or uphold the Constitution if you don't have that deep understanding for it. And dare I say, love to protect the Constitution. That love needs to be evident. And I keep saying
all of these because too often we glaze right over top of them. It's important that we remember how important the Fourth Amendment is because we're seeing, like, if you go to slide number 5, this document that has recently just been let out and signed by many nations, over 100-something nations, including the United States, Pact for the Future Global Digital Compact and Declaration on Future Generations. I just want to show that front page there.
Got it.
This is all about the erosion of your personal liberty, your personal property. You will no longer own property because the world global government is going to say, due to climate crisis, we have to start putting you in these 15-minute cities, which, by the way, comes back full circle to my opposition of license plate readers.
Now, this transitions perfectly into a good point, and that is that you have been talking about the globalist agenda for months.
Right.
So I want to, again, take us back in this walk through the history of this campaign and show you this.
Right.
Once we really figured out what they were doing, and knew that it was a globalist agenda and that many of our so-called leaders were falling for it, choosing certain security over dangerous liberty, I started looking around thinking, what's Kootenai County going to do to get ready for the next time? Because they're not going to stop. That's one thing about the Marxists and the communists, the globalists. They're not going to just stop after one attempt. And I wanted to know, what are we doing in Kootenai County specifically to deal with what is coming our way? In business, and I've been a businessman for 25 years with 2 highly successful construction companies, we always have to be proactive because action beats reaction every single time. We have to look at the horizon and we have to plan for what's ahead, not just right in front of us. And I have not seen in the last, almost 4 years, anything really proactive to get this county ready for some other event. Now, maybe the next event isn't going to be COVID or a virus. Maybe it's going to be a grid outage. Maybe it's going to be a terrorist attack of significant magnitude because of all of the military-aged males that I have personally witnessed when I went down to the Arizona border back in January, coming across this entire country. And how do you get ready for all these things? Human trafficking. We know that human trafficking is majorly underreported and majorly not gone after in this county. And nobody's doing anything. We're on I-90. We're in a county of over 170,000 next to a county of 550,000. We seize fentanyl by mass quantities all the time on routine traffic stops. And I'm looking at all this and saying, okay, so why are we not getting ready for the future events and the things that are facing us? We knew the border was going to be open once Biden was sworn in.
The reason these are important statements, and I wanted to let that play all the way through, is everything that you've been talking about with human trafficking, illegal immigration, these all tie into that globalist agenda. And you have been talking about them from day one and disparaged for it, mind you. And with Norris coming out with that statement today, how relevant is his statement now that he's making it this far? I mean, yes, it was timely because of the UN pact that came out. And so it made sense. I'm going to create a timely response to this. But how relevant is that really when the globalists already have their sights on Kootenai County and Norris, as you stated, has done nothing to prepare and protect this county, which is why you're here running this race?
Yeah, that's exactly why when I first observed Norris and his weakness several years ago, I knew that if somebody didn't come in and challenge him, that I would do it. And I was going to do it to the best of my ability to sound the alarm, to be kind of the Paul Revere. And they don't know what to do with me because I am a conservative. And yet I talk about liberty. I talk about protecting those that don't align with me. I don't believe that you should arbitrarily go into a library and pull a book out and grandstand on it.
And that's blowing people's minds. They just don't
because they don't understand. That has nothing to do with what I believe morally is correct. But if it was a true crime, Bob should have made a charge on whoever it was that was committing a crime. But whether we like it or not, we are a nation of laws in this culture. Those that align and want those books in the library are greater than those that oppose it. So what are you, the citizen, doing to make your voices heard in this representative government to say, you know what, this doesn't align with my morals? But yes, when it comes to the global problem, Bob is so out of his league unless he really is Homeland Security like some have alluded. I mean, him and Bruce, I've heard it many times that they're deep staters and really part of Homeland Security operations, but I don't know.
And to come for full circle on this, Norris's statement in that press release today regarding the UN pact and him promising the only document he'll uphold is the Constitution. One last piece from a talk that you recently gave, and then I'm going to have you respond to that.
Inside a room down in my basement where I do a lot of my studying, I have a picture of the founders. It's a painting of the founders signing the Declaration of Independence. And Don and I are down in this room quite often, and we have discussions. And how many times do I look up at that painting and I say, am I worthy to be in those men's presence? because of the things that I'm doing right now to do my part. Nothing spectacular. We don't have kings in this country. We're not subservient to anybody. We are equal under God. We have the rights to life, liberty, and property. The laws of nature and nature's God has spelled this out. Will you do your best with your lives and your fortunes and your sacred honor to be in a group like those men that did everything to give us this great life that we have, this great government? And I ask you to join with me. Spread the message. Spread what Dan Wilson is about. Life, liberty, property, securing the county, preparing for what's up ahead. And we will not be silenced. We will not be cowards. We will lead this country. We will be that shining city on a hill for all other counties around this country to see what a united people can accomplish and be together. And I ask for your support.
Yeah.
And we know that you have been talking about the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the Founding Fathers, the deep love that you have had for these documents in the history of our country from the time you were a kid.
Yeah.
We know, I want to challenge you. YouTube has an amazing search feature where you can go to our YouTube channel, The Idaho Sheriff, and type in the word Constitution, the phrase Founding Fathers, the phrase Bill of Rights. Look at the results that come back, the videos that will display how often Dan has contained this as part of his message and a message of hope and the challenge and message of hope to Kootenai County. Compare that to a current sitting sheriff who doesn't seem to have demonstrated much of that over the last 4 years.
Well, he just doesn't understand. I mean, this is classic with a lot of law enforcement, unfortunately. 30 years at the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. I talked with Captain Mike Bauer earlier this year, and he was lamenting that he had not heard the Constitution talked about so much since he was a brand new deputy in the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. Law enforcement in general has lost the overall overarching reason that they exist, and that is to secure people's rights. And it's not about law enforcement so much as it is being a peacekeeper, making certain that people's rights are upheld. But the other problem is that it's not just about providing the typical law enforcement services that we're so accustomed to. The sheriff, as the elected representative for you, the people, you have to have a sheriff that is globally minded, that is paying attention. What is going on around the world right now? What is going on in the nation? What is going on in the state? And what is, more importantly, going on right here in the county? I can't do anything at a global level. I can't do anything at a national level, and I can't do much at a state level. But I guarantee you that with the vision that I have and those on my transition team and the hundreds that have reached out to me that share the same vision, we can put things together very quickly to protect everybody's rights in this county. Again, it's not just conservative people. It's not just people that believe like us. We secure the county for everyone because that is our duty. And we do it without violence. We do it because we come shoulder to shoulder together, all of us equally created, all of us equal. We don't have nobility. We don't have royalty. And we're not run by religion. We're not supposed to be. So therefore, I say we join together, and I am the man for this hour in this time and place. With my vast business experience, I've created those jobs out of thin air. I have made budgets starting out with $0 that were my own money as I budgeted out multi-million-dollar projects. I have vast experience in negotiating contracts and logistics and scheduling. I understand the administrative portion of the office of the sheriff better than Bob Norris himself knows it. And we've seen this by his inability to control policies. He has many failed policies that have the county exposed. This helicopter program that it's going to get the county in a lot of trouble. The fact that Norris is being sued right now, or most likely will go into a lawsuit with this tort claim, and then the bounty he put on this lady. I mean, the list goes on and on and on with all of the unwise things that Bob Norris has done just on the administrative side of the county, not even mentioning about what are we going to do in this county in order to protect the citizens and our infrastructure. Hey, Bob, we know that millions of people are coming across this border. What have you done to secure our power grids locally? What have you done to ensure that our water systems are protected? What have you done to make certain that our cybersecurity is where it's supposed to be? Where are you when it comes to human trafficking? You have been denying that there's any human trafficking taking place in this county. It blows my mind that you have doubled down again and you tell people you've seen no evidence of it. I've received dozens of calls the past couple of weeks after that video. Organizations that have come to me directly, that have come to you prior and said, we have evidence. We want to give you this evidence. We know that it's happening. And you say no. And in one case, you said, I'm not going to even deal with this year. I have seen these cases. I have seen the evidence. I talked to one organization that was able to save 9 women just this year alone. We have a tribe on our county. Let's talk about the indigenous people that go missing, the women and the children that are underreported. How dare you say that there's no human trafficking? How dare you not have a plan for it? The sheriff has to be that person that is getting the county ready for all hazards, because that's his job, to secure the county.
Thanks for joining us.
It ticks me
tonight.
off about the human trafficking. I mean, it's unbelievably, it irritates me to no end that this guy, in fact, you have the internet crime against children. They tried to get that going again, and Kootenai County would not participate. Folks, you can do FOIA requests. It's not just me. There are people in the county, in law enforcement, that will tell you the truth of what's going on. And you have to ask yourself, what is Bob doing that he continually doubles down and denies that there's an issue going on right here? Who's he covering for? It should make all of your blood boil beyond all belief. So
I'm going to transition into a couple of questions. And if you do want to join in on that, you're still welcome in the last handful of minutes we have left here in the program tonight. I'm going to get back to one. My screen's moving a bit. So Deborah on Facebook or YouTube, joining us on YouTube. Thank you. Been patiently waiting. We may need you to clarify this question, but I'm going to take a stab at it. I wanted to ask you about Kootenai County being a sanctuary county, because the research I did said that the sheriff would be the one of a few that would allow it.
Yeah, I'm not quite certain the question. I'm not following it.
It depends on the sanctuary county for who, I think, is where.
So if you're talking about sanctuary county for illegals, it's my understanding that Department of Homeland Security, I've seen an email, not an official letterhead, but an email from a DHS representative to the sheriff's office that I received through a FOIA request that stated that they had erroneously reported that. The Center for Immigration Studies that originally obtained through FOIA all of these reports to include Idaho, where Idaho listed 3 counties uncooperative to ICE, which was, I think it was Boundary, Bonneville, not Boundary, excuse me, it's Power, Bonneville, and Kootenai. So yeah, my understanding is that was in error, and this is definitely not a sanctuary county yet.
That may have answered your question, Deborah, and if not, you can clarify in the comments and we'll come back to it. Noah says, I was told by many in the community to not apply to the sheriff's office. When I asked why, they say it's a toxic environment and high turnover.
Yeah.
What are your plans for recruiting and retention?
Well, recruiting is going to come down to this. We have to completely change the culture inside the sheriff's office. It's one of calling, not of a career, not a job. If you're a cop, you have been called to be that, and you have to live up to that responsibility and that calling, no different than if you were a pastor or a teacher or somebody else in service. So part of my transition team is dedicated to just going in and changing the culture. Number 2 is we're going to get rid of any incompetent command. So we'll reassign them, whatever we have to do. But for example, I talked about this earlier. The amount of time that it takes to do backgrounds is ridiculous. The fact that captains can arbitrarily say, I don't like the look of a guy, or I just don't like him, and toss him, that's ridiculous. The toxic environment will stop the minute that I come into the sheriff's office, because we're going to bring a body of extreme ownership. That's the model, extreme ownership. If you like Jocko Willink, you'll love working with us, because it's all about everybody becoming leaders in the organization in order to accomplish the overall mission, which is to maintain the peace and secure the county. So everything in my administration will be based off of merit, not FOP. In fact, I will have zero to do with the Fraternal Order of Police. That Deputy Sheriff's PAC Association, toxic. Absolutely will not have anything to do with it. And I sure as heck won't let them come and campaign for me. That is something that I think the deputies inside need to make a serious assessment as to whether or not they should be a part of this. But it will be one based on merit in the Kootenai County Sheriff's Office. No special deals, no special favoritism, no cronyism. It's all going to be on the merit of the individual. So, and look, I met one this weekend, another deputy, outstanding individual. Kootenai County Sheriff's Office is very, very fortunate to have this man. This man epitomizes what a deputy should be. So that's what we're going to do. And we're going to mentor a lot, and we're going to do a lot more training as well.
Question from Logan on Facebook. Do you have any updates on the tort claim? So maybe a little background, quick background on that tort claim. And
so in July, a lady in the community served a tort claim to Kootenai County and Robert Norris, the sheriff, alleging that in April at a town hall meeting on the far southeast side of the county, that Sheriff Bob Norris, I guess, not pointed her out, but singled her out, this woman, and made extremely rude, sexually insinuated dialogue with her. I'm trying to make sure I don't say anything I'm not supposed to.
I think it was more of a monologue.
Yeah.
It is hard.
So she alleges that he was sexually aggressive with her in his speech. So she filed a defamation claim. That tort claim, once it was filed back in July, the county has 90 days to respond. If they don't respond, then my understanding is that it will then move to a lawsuit. And I believe that expires on or around October 8th. So it's coming up pretty quick. And I urge everybody in Kootenai County to pay attention. You know, Bob has bragged that he has driven down civil payouts in his office from $300,000 to $30,000. Now,
that's what I was talking.
What he doesn't tell you is that's partially because they had a big settlement. So he didn't really drill back, a decade for the trend. He just cherry picked, from 2020.
And the trend is high because of this, and now it's low.
Because one or two incidents, and then he also fails to mention ICRIMP, and that is the Idaho Consolidated Risk Management Pool, the self-insured of the state, so to speak, that now plays a part in that. So Bob can play his number games, but it's not really what he's saying. And, he's going to cost the county a lot of money, it sounds like.
We're getting toward the end of our hour here. It's been a good one. Man, we have had a pleasure having you guys join us tonight. Yeah. Any more questions? We may get it in the last minute here. What are the events this week you can remind us of? Just the two, so we're not fire hosing.
Tomorrow night, 6:30 at the Racketeer in Post Falls. Come join me for some conversation.
Ladies,
men and women.
I always attend these, and I have a smoke. They also
21 and up.
They also make really good coffee, so you don't have to smoke or drink. But it's an excellent environment with like-minded individuals. Always leave encouraged.
We have the Life Public House event on Friday night, 9/27. I forget what time that starts.
I think it's 6 p.m.
6 p.m. That's going to be a ball. I can't wait for that event.
That one really is just for fun, and Dan and I are there as guests, and there's going to be karaoke and then just some other fun stuff going on. So that'll be a good one to come hang out, and I believe that one is 18 plus.
Yeah.
So just don't bring your little kids.
Yeah, don't want to bring them.
Yeah. All right. Anything you want to close out with? I think we covered a lot of hard, heavy, but good topics tonight. And maybe you can leave us with a word of encouragement.
Kootenai County citizens, in a little over 4 weeks, you're going to have a choice whether or not to reward Bob, who has done nothing to get this county ready, that is running on his record of we don't know what. Are you going to reward him for his lack of action, his cronyism, his destroying the agency just because he's a nice guy and Republicans support him? Or will you choose somebody that's an independent that has pledged and never changed my message to protect everybody in this county, everybody's rights to life, liberty, and property, to provide equal protection under the law, and to do whatever I can to stand as an interposition between an out-of-control, unaccountable federal and state government? Will you join me in the cause of liberty without compromise and vote? We know that absentee ballots are already out. If you know people that have absentee ballots, and heck, if you don't know people that have them, ask and urge them to vote for me. We absolutely can do this. We're going to do it, but you cannot sit by and not vote. You have to vote. And I urge you to vote for the independent. Let's start cleaning things up in this county the way we need to. Let's get things leveled back out for all citizens. And I am your man. So please spread the message of liberty without compromise to all around us. Look, as always, heavy things going on around the world. We're all on pins and needles, but have hope. We have the blood of our founders coursing through all of our veins. They were very brave men. They absolutely pledged their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor. We need to now honor them. We need to ask ourselves, are we worthy enough with what we're doing to be in a room with those founders, to be able to gather around and be part of that greatness? I know I want to, and I want to be your sheriff. So as always, stay strong, be strong and courageous. May God bless you. May God bless America.
Remember, get out and vote on November 5th. Vote for an independent for Kootenai County Sheriff. I think that would be a first, and let's make it a landslide. Also, you can donate securely. We need those donations to get to the finish line. We're shamelessly asking, donate securely on the website at theidahosheriff.com. Thank you for joining us tonight for the Idaho Sheriff live stream broadcast with Dan Wilson for Kootenai County Sheriff. We are here every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, The Idaho Sheriff. That's going to give you automatic reminders when we go live. And for more information about Dan Wilson, his platform, policies, and viewpoints, you can visit our website at theidahosheriff.com. Also, thank you to those listening back on our podcast. You can listen and subscribe wherever you get your shows.
Thank you, guys.